second place is the Canadian Football League in the Great White North. With the NFL bringing up the topic of expansion so much recently, I wanted to make a video going over the hypothetical merger between the CFL and NFL. Obviously, this is all just a theory and probably won't end up playing out this way, but I figured it would just be a fun theoretical video to talk about the two largest football leagues in the world. The first thing we need to address is just how much larger the NFL is than the CFL. The NFL is by far the most lucrative sports league in North America, generating around $18 billion in revenue annually as of 2023, with expectations of that figure continuing to grow. This massive financial engine is driven by enormous television contracts, sponsorship deals, merchandise sales, and an overwhelming fan base. In contrast, the CFL operates on a much smaller scale, with total league revenues estimated around $200 million per year. The disparity in revenue largely stems from the difference in market size and the value of television contracts. The NFL's TV deals alone bring in billions annually, while the CFL's Canadian-based broadcasting agreements generate a fraction of that, reflecting the smaller demand and reach of the league. When it comes to fan support, both leagues enjoy passionate followings, but the scale is vastly different. The NFL's teams are national and international brands, with huge fan bases that span the globe. Stadiums routinely seat upwards of 60,000 to 80,000 fans, and many teams boast waiting lists for season tickets that stretch for years. Major franchises like the Dallas Cowboys and New England Patriots have fan bases that rival entire sports leagues in other countries. In comparison, the CFL's teams play in much smaller stadiums, with capacities typically ranging between 20,000 and 30,000. While the CFL has a deeply loyal fan base, particularly in cities like Regina, the overall scale of support is smaller due to Canada's lower population and the niche appeal of the CFL within a country where hockey is the dominant sport. One of the most glaring differences between the NFL and CFL is the size of their respective markets. The NFL operates in the United States, a country with a population of over 330 million people, as well as significant international appeal. Major markets like New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago are among the largest in the world, and the NFL taps into these cities with multi-billion-dollar franchises. The league's vast appeal extends far beyond the US borders, with dedicated fans across Europe, Asia, and Mexico. The CFL, on the other hand, operates in Canada, a country with a population of just over 38 million. With only 9 teams compared to the NFL's 32, the league primarily serves medium-sized Canadian markets like Winnipeg, Hamilton, and Calgary, which don't compare to the massive metropolitan areas of the NFL. Toronto, the CFL's largest market, has struggled to attract the same level of support as other Canadian cities, in part due to the competition with other professional sports and the city's proximity to the US sports landscape. While the CFL is deeply rooted in Canadian culture, its market size is significantly limited by the country's smaller population and less global reach. But that isn't to say the CFL has absolutely no strengths. It is a very unique league. I just am pointing out that for CFL team owners, being integrated into the NFL could be one of the best things they could do to make their teams as valuable as possible. The CFL provides opportunities for players who may not have a chance to make it in the NFL. For talented athletes who were overlooked in the NFL draft or cut from NFL rosters, the CFL offers a platform to continue their careers, develop their skills, and potentially return to the NFL. Numerous players such as Warren Moon and Cameron Wake started in the CFL before having standout NFL careers. Additionally, the CFL's lack of international focus means there's more room for Canadian-born players to shine, giving local talent the chance to be professional football stars. For fans, attending a CFL game is often far more affordable than an NFL game. NFL ticket prices have skyrocketed due to the league's immense popularity, pricing out many casual fans. In contrast, CFL games tend to be more accessible, allowing a broader range of fans to attend. This affordability extends beyond tickets, as merchandise and concessions are generally more reasonably priced, allowing for a more inclusive fan experience. For a family looking to enjoy a professional football game, the CFL offers a more financially accessible option without sacrificing the thrill of live sports. That being said, if the CFL merged into the NFL, that would definitely have to change. The CFL also has a deep, distinctive history that resonates with Canadian fans. The Grey Cup, the championship game of the CFL, is one of the oldest professional sports trophies in North America, dating back to 1909. This long-standing tradition provides a sense of continuity and heritage that is highly valued in Canada. The Grey Cup is more than just a football game. It is a national event that brings brings together fans from coast to coast, offering a sense of unity and pride for the country. This rich tradition gives the CFL a unique identity that is unique from the NFL. The first major change that would have to occur is a standardization of the rules. Currently, a CFL field is 110 yards long and 65 yards wide, with an NFL field being 100 yards by 53 yards wide. It's obvious a merged league would need common rules. I do think in this hypothetical, it is very likely that the CFL would change their rule set to be more like the NFL. I think because the NFL is just so much bigger and more well ingrained in a larger market like the USA, it would just make the most sense for the CFL to change their rules. It is also true that there are also only 9 teams currently in the CFL, so it would just be much cheaper to change their 9 fields instead of all 32 current NFL teams. I also think if the NFL got involved, we would see quite a few teams relocating from their current city in the CFL. As I mentioned earlier, Canada is just a much smaller market than the USA. They do have international cities like Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, and Quebec, but certain extremely small CFL markets like Hamilton just are not comparable to a major US metro area. Sure, being close to Toronto is nice, but they are splitting the market with the Argonauts, which already have popularity issues of their own. Certain markets like Winnipeg or Saskatchewan are just not big enough to actually keep an NFL team as profitable as their full potential can be. I'm not saying this to belittle Canada, it's just a fact that the USA has about 10 times the population, and with that comes much larger media markets. Other rules like the 3-down system in the CFL would be likely to change, alongside getting rid of the 12 players on the field and going to 11. I know some CFL fans will take offense to this and say that the CFL rules are actually better, and I'm not going to sit here and argue about which version is better to watch. I'm just being realistic, and if the NFL was merging with the CFL, it would just make no sense to take aspects of the much less popular league when the NFL format already works well on a global scale. I also think revenue share would have to change, or some of the smaller markets in the CFL would have almost no way to financially compete with the most valuable NFL franchises currently. We're talking about a situation where CFL team owners, who currently are looking at their teams as assets in the $50 to $100 million range, would literally overnight be turned into billionaires. With that amount of change, they would be able to abuse local tax codes to move their team wherever they want and get a new stadium built on the public dime. As much as owners may claim their loyalty to a city and would never do anything to leave, we've seen time and time again in the NFL that owner loyalty only goes as far as how much tax money you're willing to fork over from your city. I do think CFL teams would by default get a popularity boost as well. There are some American CFL fans, but suddenly all 9 of these teams would be getting regular exposure to one of the biggest media markets in the world on a regular basis. Thankfully, the CFL is also split into East and West divisions as well, so theoretically it would be pretty easy to just add a team to each division and then put the last team into whatever division is closest to them. I do think there are also some potential benefits to a merger for fans and giving NFL lovers a better product to watch. A merger could bring new energy and interest to both leagues, particularly with the NFL gaining more influence in Canada. It would create more international exposure for the CFL and bring in massive new revenue streams from NFL television deals, sponsorships, and merchandise sales. The CFL, which has often struggled with financial stability, could benefit from the NFL's robust business model, ensuring the long-term survival of its teams and elevating the status of Canadian football. While the league has issues guaranteeing its survival from time to time currently, the NFL would be able to fund these times with a metaphorical drop in the bucket of their total league revenue. It would help put the Canadian teams on the map quite a bit more. From a fan perspective, the merger could create exciting cross-border matchups, with CFL teams facing off against NFL franchises in regular season games. Canadian football fans might relish the opportunity to see their favorite teams play against the best in the NFL, and vice versa. This could also lead to a larger variety of high-profile games and more opportunities for talented players from both leagues to showcase their skills on a bigger stage. A combined CFL-NFL league would have a greater pool of talent, leading to potentially even more thrilling and competitive games. It would also create a lot more roster spots for players to will, which could lead to a lot more top-level talent being allowed to develop. There are definitely some potential downsides in this merger too. It's not all sunshine and rainbows out here. The CFL's unique identity is deeply rooted in Canadian sports culture, and many of its traditions, such as the Grey Cup, hold immense national pride. A merger with the NFL could erase or diminish those traditions, as the larger, more powerful NFL would likely set the tone for how the league operates post-merger. The loss of distinct CFL rules such as the bigger field, 3 downs, and 12 players would take away a major part of what makes the league different. Canadian fans might feel disconnected from the product if it becomes too Americanized. Player development could also be an issue. The CFL offers opportunities for players who might not make it in the NFL, and a merger might reduce those chances. Canadian-born players who found a place in the CFL might be left behind in a more competitive and less inclusive NFL system, where the focus is on global stardom and profits rather than local development. The CFL is more of a league run for the pure passion of football at the moment, and if they really joined the NFL, then it's obvious that their business model would change to being purely focused on the profits. If the CFL were to disappear or be absorbed into the NFL through a merger or collapse, it would be a sad loss for Canadian sports and a blow to the country's cultural fabric. The CFL has been more than just a league. It's a symbol of Canadian resilience and pride. The Grey Cup is a national event celebrated from coast to coast, and the league's teams are woven into the identity of cities like Winnipeg, Regina, and Hamilton. Losing the CFL would mean losing an important part of what makes Canadian sports unique. Beyond the cultural loss, there's also the sadness of seeing a historic league with such a rich legacy fade away. The CFL has survived world wars, economic depressions, and the rise of global sports leagues, but it has remained a staple of Canadian life. The thought of it disappearing would not only erase over a century of football history, but also the community connections, traditions, and memories it has fostered. Fans who have grown up watching the league, cheering for their favorite teams, and bonding with family and friends over Grey Cup parties would lose something irreplaceable. While the NFL is undoubtedly a behemoth, it's important to recognize the CFL's importance as a league that helped shape the game of football itself. Its history predates the NFL, and the unique characteristics of Canadian football deserve to be preserved. Losing the CFL would be more than just the end of a league. It would be the loss of a cultural institution that has given generations of Canadians joy, pride, and a sense of belonging. For many, it's not just a football league, it's a part of Canada's heart and soul. A Super Bowl matchup between a Canadian and American football team would be great, but I think realistically the NFL is just going to add expansion teams of their own. As cool as this theoretically would be, I think the NFL would rather build new franchises they have more control over, rather than trying to mix into a league with its own culture and fan base already established. I do feel like the NFL will expand into Canada eventually, and at that point the CFL really needs to evaluate a merger because the NFL just has way too big of a bank account to not win out in the long run in a direct competition. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate you pressing the like button and letting me know in the comment section what you thought. We are trying to hit 10,000 subscribers this year and would love your help as we post 3 videos like this a week.